It seems like a day doesn't go by without some idiotic proposal by woke politicians and law enforcement agencies on how to make a criminal's job easier.
Tell me about it.
What baffles me is that according to them, it's with the intention of keeping us safe. Whom are they kidding? Hi, I'm Joe Yagar, certified instructor and founder of Executive Gun, where safe and responsible gun ownership begins. The poster boy of woke totalitarian politics, Mr. Trudeau of Canada, made the purchase, sale, transfer, exportation, and importation of military-grade assault rifles and handguns illegal in Canada. That means semi-automatic rifles like the AR-15, AK-47, and handguns.
How can he do that?
Furthermore, he announced that the guns you are allowed to keep primarily for hunting and sanctioned recreation are forbidden to be used for self-defense, even in the event of a home invasion. He didn't have to pass it through Parliament or ask for a vote. He just did it. And who is going to comply? The law-abiding citizen.
Sucker!
To criminals, it means diddly squat, except easier victims. Criminals don't buy their guns at a legitimate firearms dealer, go through a background check, and follow safe storage laws. They smuggle their weapons, use 3D printers to make guns, steal some, and buy them in the black market. For them, that's business as usual. And now, as a result of rising car theft crimes in affluent neighborhoods, the Canadian police issued the following advice. If you have cars with key fobs, and whether in a Faraday pouch or not, please keep them near the front door. Why? Because criminals use electronic equipment to access your key fob so they can then open your car without breaking the window and then drive off. If you don't know what a Faraday pouch is, it is a pouch that prevents data from being stolen remotely from anything inside that pouch. They're suggesting that to prevent armed criminals from breaking into your home and potentially putting you in harm's way. And mind you, they specifically referred to armed criminals. Apparently, these car thieves are armed with real and loaded firearms. Wait a second, aren't handguns outlawed in Canada? So why would citizens have to worry? Aren't your anti-gun decrees supposed to eliminate that threat and keep them safe?
Keep dreaming, dog.
So let me get this straight. Canadian citizens work hard for what they have. They pay their taxes, which pays for your 24/7 armed security and the police force that's supposed to protect and serve them. Yet, since you can disarm the criminals they hope you'll protect them from, you disarm the good people. Then, to keep them out of harm's way, physically at least, you strip them of their guns and ask them to hand over their hard-earned assets to armed criminals and forbid them to defend themselves with equal force. Should I keep my credit cards next to the key fob so they can electronically steal that data too?
It's a brilliant idea.
How about New York State Governor Kathy Hochul, another woke tyrant who decided the Supreme Court's Bruen decision is beneath her and decided to make every place in New York State a sensitive place where law-abiding citizens may not carry a firearm even if they have a carry permit. If you don't know what the Bruen decision is all about, I left a link in the description. New York City's subway system is one of those sensitive places. Well, just a few days ago, a 36-year-old man slipped past the police backpack checkpoints and onto a subway train without paying. He was carrying a handgun illegally. He got into a confrontation with a lady passenger who went on to stab him. He turned away from the lady and got into a confrontation with another man who disarmed him and shot him with his own gun. How exactly did your strict gun laws and disregard for the Supreme Court keep your citizens safe, Governor? Look at New York City's crime rate. Homelessness is through the roof. Violent crime is through the roof. Illegal immigrants are attacking police officers. And you release them without bail, give them prepaid debit cards and a bus ticket to a destination of their choice. Again, rewarding criminals by treating them like preferred guests and punishing the law-abiding by treating them like criminals, in the name of keeping our communities safe, of course.
I'm sure it is.
And how about you, Joker? I mean, Governor Newsom, excuse me. Please explain to me how letting criminals steal up to $950 per day without prosecution is helping California businesses thrive. How is favoring criminals over honest, hardworking, tax-paying businesses just? And you wonder why businesses are packing up and leaving major California cities? And how about revoking a family man's concealed carry permit after he defended himself from armed home invaders on his own property? How is that giving California residents the confidence that their governor wants to keep them safe? Last week, I spoke about how Pittsburgh police have announced that they will not respond unless it's an emergency felony in progress, that there will be no one available to respond between 3 and 7 a.m. How is that supposed to keep Pittsburgh communities safe?
I have no idea.
I am not even going to touch on the flood of illegal immigrants and the drain on law enforcement resources nationwide as the federal government intentionally lets it happen. And when crime spikes and law enforcement can't cope, the criminals get away with a slap on the wrist, and law-abiding citizens get more restrictions and a whole lot of lip service about how calling illegal immigrants illegal is inappropriate. Lastly, I dare not forget to mention the unprecedented spike in anti-Semitism and its tolerance by educational institutions and many politicians at the expense of keeping Jewish people safe. Why? Because pandering to terrorists for votes is more important. How does any of that make our community safer? It doesn't. It does the exact opposite, which is evident not only on our streets, but on streets worldwide. That's why we must never take for granted our inalienable right to keep and bear arms and believe that any government or law enforcement body will keep us safe all the time. They have proven the very opposite with each decade.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Even if governments had the best of intentions and did everything in their power to keep us safe, it simply isn't possible. Evil will always exist and take its share of victims. The time between when evil strikes and help arriving will be determined by what you can do to protect yourself and your loved ones. Today, it has never been more important to take that seriously.
I guess I can't argue with that.
I don't live in fear, but I am concerned about the direction in which our society is headed. Like you, I work hard, enjoy my family, and try each day to be a better person. For me, that also means being better prepared to provide for and protect them and keep myself safe so I can do so for as long as possible. If you've watched this far, it's either because you found it entertaining, which I certainly hope you did, and or because what I'm saying makes sense and the evidence is hard to ignore. You don't have to believe in guns to make your home more secure and learn about different ways to keep you and your loved ones safer.
Are you serious?
At least you'll be doing it for the right reasons and within your value system. The key is to start and do a little at a time. Take a good look at your family and ask yourself, have I done everything I can to keep them safe?
That's a really good question.
If yes, are you sure? And if not, what are you waiting for? If you enjoy this video, please smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and watch the next video right here. Train hard, often, and safely, and I'll see you at the range.